Howdy, everybody. It's me, Randy Ray, the literate Texan at Driftwood Ranch. And today I've got a potential TBR for June on the Range. I doubt I'll get through all these books, may not even get through most of these books, but I have a lot of options to choose from this year. Last year, I spent June on the Range immersed in Lonesome Dove, and I absolutely loved it. And so I think it's only appropriate that I take a look at the sequel. And there were 4 Lonesome Dove novels, Lonesome Dove being the first, but there's only one true sequel. The other ones are prequels. And the sequel is called Streets of Laredo. I'm not going to get into a lot of details about the plot because I haven't read it before, so I don't know the plot. But I do know that it has to do with Woodrow Call becoming a bounty hunter. And this is a good 600-page, maybe 650-page novel. I mean, it's long. My friend Steve told me that the other Lonesome Dove novels weren't, they didn't capture the magic of the original. And I don't doubt that he's correct about that. There's probably only going to be one Lonesome Dove ever. But, you know what? A mediocre novel from Larry McMurtry is usually better than a poke in the eye with a short stick, if you know what I mean. A short stick or a sharp stick. Or a sharp short stick, whatever you want to call it. I've also got some Westerns that I've been meaning to take a look at here on my Kindle device. I've got them organized. I might do a reread of True Grit by Charles Portis, who I absolutely love, by the way. Portis wrote several other novels, 3 or 4, besides True Grit. I think he wrote 4 novels total. He wrote 5. Norwood, The Dog of the South, Masters of Atlantis, and Gringos. And I have read The Dog of the South and Norwood, as well as True Grit. So I've read 60% of his oeuvre, as they say in France. I try not to pronounce things in French because I tend to mispronounce things in French. But anyway, here's the cover art for the current edition on my Kindle. It's pretty. But my friend Kirby was over here the other night, and she borrowed my, actually have a Dead Tree version of True Grit too, but she borrowed it because she wants to read it over the summer. So I'm going to try to see if I can't get Kirby to come on the channel. She's absolutely marvelous. One of the most beautiful, intelligent women I've ever met. And she teaches high school in one of these podunk towns around here and stuff. So, but anyway, cool lady and very, very smart. She'll have interesting things to say. I've also got a book by Alex Cox about Westerns in the movies, which I thought would be fun to read. It's called 10,000 Ways to Die. It's really long. It's one of these things I think would take a long time to read, but it's about spaghetti westerns in particular, a director's take on the spaghetti western. And if you watch some of my previous videos, you might know that I own spaghettiwesterns.org, which I haven't updated in a long time, but I probably should. I've also got a book. This is something newer that I haven't read before. It's Slaughter at Rebel Ridge by Robert Vaughn. And I think he's a reasonably popular writer of Westerns now, if that's not a contradiction in terms, because the Western genre is not a popular genre anymore. But it might be fun to try something new and see what's up in that genre. I've also got a book here, and I'm real intrigued by this. Of course, Gene Hackman retired from acting, I think, over 20 years ago. But he did write some novels, and one of his first novels was a Western, which I'm sure was an attempt to cash in on his role in Unforgiven as Little Bill Daggett, which is one of the great Western movies of all time. It's such a good story. But this book is called Payback at Morning Peak, a novel of the American West by Gene Hackman, co-author of Escape from Andersonville. How far would a young man go to seek justice or revenge? This looks just like a regular old potboiler Western to me. So I don't know, how much of it Gene Hackman actually wrote or how much it was just an idea that he delivered to his ghostwriters or what. But I'm intrigued and I might take a look at it. One of my favorite Western novels is called Appaloosa by Robert B. Parker, who's way more famous for his Spencer series of novels, which are crime novels. I think Spencer's a Private Eye. I haven't read any of his Spencer novels, but I have read Appaloosa and seen the movie. Both are terrific. If you get an opportunity to read Appaloosa, you definitely should. It's a breeze to read, and it's really, really great. The sequels were good too, but then they did this thing that they do with a lot of these popular authors where they have someone else come in and start writing the novels, And, they put the original author, the guy who started the series, his name in big letters, but obviously he didn't write it because he's been dead. And then I've got Ombre by Elmore Leonard. So I've got 6 books on my Kindle here to choose from for June on the Range. And sadly, there is cover artwork, but it's not very impressive. But I believe that was turned into a movie too. But I like Elmore Leonard. He's a good writer. So those are 6 options plus Streets of Laredo makes 7. Okay. And then on top of that, my friend Jim at Mystery and Mayhem was kind enough to send me a stack of Louis L'Amour novels. And I've read a lot of Louis, excuse me, sorry. Steve Donahue hates it when I do that. But, yeah, so I've read a lot of Louis L'Amour novels when I was much younger. I don't really remember them very well. Kind of like the Tarzan novels. I read, I think, all of them, but I couldn't tell you what happens in any of them but the first. But anyway, so here's what I've got here. So it'll be like reading news. I guess the Sackets by Louis L'Amour, this novel is called Sacket. So I don't know if this is the first book in the Sacket series. It would make sense for it to be so. But one of the nice things about these Louis L'Amour novels, they're all short. They're all about 150 pages long. Now, that being said, I mean, that's small type, especially for an old man like me. But that ought to be a good one. Sacket, and then I've got The Lonely Men, a great novel of the magnificent Sacket family. So this is about Tell Sacket, which is a great name for a character. Really cool little mass market paperback here. These are in great shape too. I just love these old things, and I love the way these old books smell. They're just wonderful. So there's 2. And then The Skyliners by Louis L'Amour. This is another book in the Sacket trilogy, or the Sacket series. It's far bigger than a trilogy. Bat Masterson, Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday. So this one's about the Sacket boys. So did I show you the cover? Louis L'Amour, The Daybreakers, another novel in the Sacket series. I wonder how many books there were in the Sacket series. I should have probably looked that up before I made this video. But, I don't know if anybody's noticed this. I don't work from a script, okay? I do my own stunts, and I talk extemporaneously. So this is The Daybreakers. It's about Tyrell Sacket. He was born to trouble, but vowed to justice. Next one in the list, The Tall Stranger by Louis L'Amour. This is about a character named Rock Bannon. How's that for a name? I got to use that as a screen name on a website somewhere. Yeah, I'm Rock Bannon. Louis L'Amour, Ride the River. This is another one in the Sacket series. And this one is about a young woman named Echo Sacket. Another Sackett's book, Treasure Mountain. This looks cool. How do you bring $1 million in gold down a mountain? First, you have to find it. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, doesn't it? Anyway, these are going to be great. I'm really looking forward to reading these. Thanks, Jim. To the Far Blue Mountains by Louis L'Amour. This one looks cool. Barnabas Sacket. That's a hell of a great name. Of course, I can't think of the name Barnabas without thinking about that vampire in that old soap opera. What was the name of that show? Dark Shadows. It was great. My introduction to Dark Shadows, of course, I'm young, but I'm not that young. And I'm not old enough to remember when Dark Shadows was on TV, but I found a comic book and a novelization from the series. So I knew what Dark Shadows was before I ever watched an episode. But Dark Shadows, not a Western. Louis L'Amour, Hondo. He was a big man, wide shoulders with the lean, hard-boned face of the desert rider. This ought to be good. Another Sackett's novel, Mojave Crossing. Man, he looks a lot like John Wayne there, doesn't he? That's about Tell Sacket. There was another novel about Tell Sacket earlier. Mustang Man by Louis L'Amour. He could outride and outshoot any 5 men, but he was a fool for a lady in distress. This is obviously a Western that was written about a character very much like me, because I am a fool for a lady in distress. Kilroan. Medicine Dog is sworn to take his scalp. Iron Dave was gunning for revenge. All the Bannocks and the Paities wanted him dead, but fast. It It's almost too much for one man. Almost. Looking forward to reading this one too. Lonely on the Mountain by Louis L'Amour. The Sackett brothers didn't know what brand of trouble Cousin Logan was in, but he needed beef cattle badly. So with Tell Sackett ramrodding, blah, 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 another Tell Sackett novel. I don't know how to figure out what order I should read these in. I'm probably going to read them in publication order. That tends to be my preference with any kind of novel, Western or regardless of genre. Some people, for whatever reason, want to read novels in the chronological order of where they take place in the series. And that just seems kind of silly to me because, you know, what difference does that make? I'm not a big fan of prequels either. I like sequels. If you're going to write something, write the sequel to it. This whole mania about prequels just gets on my damn nerves. Louis L'Amour, Conager. This is the last one. And this is not a Sackett novel near as I can tell. But anyway, these would be fun, you know, when I'm looking for an afternoon to just read through one of these. How many have I got here? There's 5, 7, 10, 14. So I've got 14 Louis L'Amour novels. I've got 6 books on my Kindle. That's 20. Plus I've got the big one, which is Streets of Laredo. So I've got 21 books on my TBR for June on the Range. And that is not the only event that I'm co-hosting in June, folks. I'm also co-hosting the Book Trick event, which is a 3-month-long event that includes June. But I've committed to reading some serious Star Trek fiction during that time because Brandy at the Book Collectic and I have some reading to do and some reading to talk about. So you can probably expect a lot of videos from me this month unless my health takes another nosedive like it did in February. And I try to live my life as if that's not going to happen. But I also understand there's no guarantees. So if you see me disappear for a while, it's probably because I'm not feeling very well. At any rate, until my next video, thank you for watching. If you've got any suggestions for Westerns that I should have included or might give a look to, hey, tell me about them. And until next time, usually I say to stay sexy, but if we're in the Wild West, you already know that you're sexy. You'd probably better stay hydrated though, because, you know, water's a big deal in these kinds of environments.